Hey everyone, here I am again. Jeez, this is just the deal here. Let me straighten this a little bit. It is right at 2 o'clock the afternoon. Just got a quick thing I'm going to share with you. Yeah, don't forget to share, pass it on, whatever you do, what you do. And make sure my thing is on here. Josh Crofton. Hello, my friend. Sarah Lou. Hi. Yeah, just dropping in. Got some good stuff I'm going to share again. Lois, good to see you. Give just a few of you here. I know some of you are working, and whether at a place or at home, whatever the case. I'm doing a little bit of that myself, and yeah, doing that thing. I had just an interesting thing has been going on, so I just wanted to drop in and share it with you real quick. And these are like just, I think, really good tools, not only for myself, but I believe for a lot of people who are weighing in on the prophetic, on a daily basis. So, anywho, don't forget, I'm doing this at Michael Danforth Kingdom Creators. Creators spelled with a K. And also a plug for our event coming this weekend. It's on Saturday, 6 o'clock in the evening. And, hey, Lynn. And, yes, at the Civic Center in Terrace Heights in Yakima. And so, great facility that we're going to be using on and off over there. And a little treasure that has been tucked away. So, yeah, we're excited about that. Going to do some worship and really looking forward to just that corporate time of worship. So, yeah, some good stuff. If you hear the dog barking, that's Izzy barking at the neighbor's dog. Such a friendly couple they are. Anyhow, hi, Amber. You're off work today, are you? Or are you working? Anyhow, we were just talking about Nova, granddaughter Nova. We need to come and see her. It's been a while now. Okay. So let me just roll right into this. I want to talk real quick. And when I say real quick, I always say real quick. I'm just going to do this real quick. My intention is to really do that. And I think I'm going to be able to do it this time around. But I want to speak about prophetic predictions versus prophetic awareness. And because there is a difference. And it's more something that God has really been bringing me in tune in. Oh, you are off. Oh, are you off today, tomorrow, next day, or are you just off shortly? Talking to my daughter, Amber. That's why I signed on here, so I could talk to everybody. But anyhow, let me move on. So I know you got things to do. So in the month of June or July of this year, 2018, I informed Tamra that we needed to prepare for a snowy winter. And hey, Michael. And I said, we need to prepare for a snowy winter. It's going to be kind of intense. So there's some things we need to do, a little extra this year. And of course, Tamra was like, what? She goes, I come against that report. And so I just kind of laughed. I said, well, okay, you can certainly do that. And then I added, but I'm not really necessarily predicting a future weather report as much as I am making you aware that it is coming. Now, I know it's like a thin line between the two, right? But what I'm going to share with you, I think, is really important as it pertains to being sons and daughters of God in His kingdom. So now I know that, in fact, many of you listening to this video have had a similar experience where you probably had a sense about something that is coming, but it was more in the realm of an awareness, and I'm going to say a spiritual awareness, rather than like some prophetic prediction or declaration about the future. And having said that, you can actually turn a prophetic awareness into a prophetic prediction, which I think a lot of people do. A lot of prophetic people do this. They will discern something or kind of get some insight about something, and they turn it into a public prophetic prediction. In fact, when Tamara had asked me, did you share this insight, with the public? I said no, and I said I don't think my awareness of all future activity is always meant to be a public prediction of the future. Oh, dang, that's good. So I got to say that again. I don't think, to say all of our awareness of future activity is always meant to be a public prediction of the future. So more and more, as sons and daughters of God, I have a sense that we are growing up into a greater spiritual awareness of the natural and spiritual environment around us. So you just begin to pick up things. You have an awareness of things. And oftentimes, this is determined by how caught up you are in the cares of life. We all have cares in this life. And those cares can become so intense that they will override your ability to discern the environment around you, whether in the spirit or just different things going on or things to come. And so that's why it's important that you have alone time, or important that you practice your spiritual senses, like you get them to align to that spiritual reality of the kingdom of God within you. Anyhow, there's many ways to do that. So I just want to encourage you in that area. So what we are hearing and seeing daily is part of, I believe, our sonship in the kingdom of God. So in other words, again, there's just this natural, if I can call it natural, I mean spiritually natural, ability to just know things that are going on and around you. But a lot of times we don't acknowledge it. You might not necessarily acknowledge it. And you know how it is later that you go, oh my gosh, I knew that. Or like something happens or something's going on, like I just thought about whatever. I look at all of that as an attempt of God to communicate to us as sons and daughters, making us spiritual aware of certain things. Now again, to the degree that you are exposed to other things that go on in the world, media, whether it's TV stuff or whatever, those type of things will influence your thinking and create barriers. So it's important that you don't let those barriers rise up and block that ability that you have in the Spirit. And so let me give you a quick example, is in Acts 27:10. And it's when Paul was headed to Rome, and when he gets on the ship, he says, speaking to everybody in the boat, he says, I perceive that this voyage will certainly be with damage and great loss, and not only to the cargo on the ship, but to our lives as well. So he was like, we're coming into a rough thing. So here we can see that Paul was actually seeing a future storm coming. And had he not announced this storm to everyone, instead of it being a prophetic word about a future event in a public way, it would have been, and I want you to hear this, it would have been simply a personal awareness of an eventual outcome. So in other words, if he had not announced that, then it would have been simply a personal awareness of something that is coming. And so I think as prophetic people, especially when you're leaning into that, you have to know what is to be publicly declared and what is just part of my knowing as discerning what is coming. So let me drive this point home really quick. Not everything we see in the future is meant to become part of a prophetic announcement. And I think a lot of times, because of trying to build a ministry, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, oftentimes we turn everything into some prophetic announcement of something we know about the future. And I am discovering now more and more there are some things that I can see coming that are not for building a ministry, but to bring me into a greater awareness of what it means to simply be a son in the kingdom of God. That's huge. So it reminds me of that song, all you got to do is act naturally. And of course, I'm thinking all you got to do is act supernaturally, because that's part of our prophetic makeup. So I believe the type of spiritual awareness that I'm speaking of right now will eventually become as easy as the air you breathe. So while this sounds complicated, or it's a whatever, what's happening is that we are filtering things out, and that's the challenge in everybody's life. There are things going on with your work, relationships, all this stuff is happening. And what you're having to do is filter all of that out and home in to the supernatural ability that you have to see future outcomes. Not just for the purpose of saying, I told you so, but for the fact that you are a son or daughter of God, and it has been given to you the ability to become aware of things that have yet to become visible in the earth. Now, that might be a challenge for some, but I'm trying to break this down, simplify it, that you actually have this ability in you. And so sometimes, again, it's relationally being disconnected to that pipeline, so to speak, that enables us to connect with God in such a way that we're able to see some of the most basic things that are coming in the future. So I love this. And of course I say it would be as easy as the air you breathe. That a time coming, and I know this is going to tweak a lot of people. So remember, we're supernatural beings. We're born of the Spirit, not of the flesh. And so this is a temporary vessel. And based on that understanding along, that more and more you are being set free from dependency of natural environment. So you and I are dependent on food, water, all of these things in the natural, the air that we breathe. We are dependent on that. But imagine a generation rising up that becomes so in tune to their sonship that they're no longer governed by the natural things around them. And so that was why Jesus lived and demonstrated the life that he demonstrated. That walking on water, walking through walls, doing all of these things, he was like, you're not subject to the laws of physics. And until we grow up into that understanding, we call that maturity. Until we grow up into what it means to be a son and daughter of God, we will be subject to the natural environment. But we are more and more breaking free from the law. And remember, the law of Moses was a tutor to faith. So we're no longer under that law, but we entered into a realm of faith, into a place of sonship where a barrier is broken. That's why when Jesus rose from the dead, he broke the power of sin and death and demonstrated what that means, that when he resurrected from the dead, he said, I lifted you up with me. And so in that sense, that barrier was broken. So we are increasingly growing up into a spiritual reality of heaven on earth. And that heaven is in us. And we're here now in this time to release it at the level that God has called us to, and it's ever increasing in the earth. Anyhow, you are amazing. And yeah, good stuff. Love you guys, and talk to you soon.
See ya.